We need to be able to execute the fundamentals on offense, defense, and special teams.
They're going to run a fake, and Rutgers is not fooled. It's blocked. They've done it again.
And then do it over and over and over again.
They're coming. It's blocked.
Because the team that does it better is usually the team that wins.
Live from Quaker Steak and Lube on US 1 in Edison, this is the Kyle Flood Show. Your chance to talk with the head coach of the Scarlet Knights. The Kyle Flood Show is also brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world, and by Pepsi. Live in the moment. The beat starts at Pepsi.com. Pepsi, live for now. To be part of the show, call 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. Now, let's go live to Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison. Here's the voice of the Scarlet Knights, Chris Carlin.
Oh yeah, Rutgers preparing for a Big Ten road trip this week as the Scarlet Knights will take on the Wisconsin Badgers at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison Saturday at 12 noon. Welcome to another edition, everybody, of the Kyle Flood Show here at Quaker Steak and Lube on Route 1 in Edison. Chris Carlin alongside Rutgers head coach Kyle Flood. Our friend Mr. LeGrand is on assignment this week in the desert in the sun out west for a couple of days.
Well, we're missing Eric, but we are not without friends as we have a guest appearance by the entire St. Bart's Buffaloes youth football team.
Love it.
Welcome. Look at these guys in the back. They are pumped up now.
Oh, they were ready to go before he even got here. They are pumped up.
We may try to take all these guys right to Camp Randall with us.
Well, Coach, good to see you. And you're coming off the game the other night against Ohio State. Tough loss, 49-7, as we know. A couple of things that come to mind right away. And certainly, first off, is the atmosphere that was there, especially right before kickoff.
No question. And it absolutely was exactly what I knew it would be. It is the premier primetime atmosphere in all of college football. It was electric, and I thank the fans after the game, and I'll thank them one more time because I know we didn't play as well as we wanted to, and we're going to play a lot better going forward. But it's that kind of atmosphere that's going to be one of the components helping us elevate this program year after year.
And I know you can't speak to specifics about this particular topic, but I read some quotes this week from different recruits that certainly were more than impressed by what they saw when they were in attendance the other night.
Absolutely. And I was talking to them about it during the week. We had a great turnout from a lot of committed players and some that are still making their decisions. And we can't speak about them publicly, but from that perspective, there were a lot of positives that happened.
Okay. The game itself, first half, you were able to move the football on that first drive and really get yourself into position. Came up empty, unfortunately, on a missed field goal. But when you look back at the first half, after that, Ohio State tightened up their defense quite a little bit. What are the things that jumped out for you as you went into halftime? You were down 3 scores at that point.
Yeah, I think with about 8 minutes to go, it was a 7-0 game in the first half, and then we really saw exactly what we knew could potentially happen. They're so dynamic offensively with their playmakers that if you're just a little bit off or a little bit out of position, it becomes a big gain or a score for them. And to their credit, they got that done. So the players continued to compete. They continued to play through the game. We didn't play well enough. We know we need to play better going forward. But this week we've got a new opponent and an excellent opponent in Wisconsin, a very good defense, one of the top defenses in the Big Ten, one of the top 2, I believe, and a tremendous challenger going on the road. So, as we do when we're 1-0 or as we do when we're disappointed, we make the corrections, we own the corrections. Then we see which are going to apply to the matchups that we're looking at this week, and then we put our eyes forward and we go.
Well, with that in mind, certainly – J.T. Barrett and company looked pretty sharp. They're the number 1 team in the country for a reason. What were the things that you took out of that game to build upon moving forward?
Well, I got this question earlier in the week. When you have a game like that, what are the positives? And there are always things when you examine the film that you say, all right, there's certain players that played really well, and certain things that you're positives as you move forward. And for us, a guy like Julian Penix, Julian Penix continues to get better and better, and he's kind of moved into this role playing the three technique position because we don't have Darius this year. And there was a little bit of a learning curve early in the year, and he's really playing at a high level right now. And that's exciting for us as a program as we go forward. And Anthony Chaffee continues to really play at a high level on special teams. And he's doing good things for us on defense. But if you think back to some of the great DBs we've had here, guys like Devin McCourty, guys like Logan Ryan, those guys weren't just great DBs. They were phenomenal special teams players. And Anthony is starting to move himself into that conversation. It's not just being a high-level defensive back, but a guy who's a difference maker on special teams.
You know, with him in particular, Coach, he's been asked to do an awful lot through his first few years here. And here he is midway through year 3. Where do you feel like Anthony has grown the most and grown into that player that he has become?
Well, I think now it's really more leadership. You know, your players, he's getting better year after year. There's no question about that. And I think he's got 3 interceptions on the season. So he's always been a guy who's been around the ball since he was a freshman. But now I watch him on the practice field, and he's pulling a younger guy over, and he's having a little conversation. He's in the meeting rooms. He's watching film. He's becoming a leader in our program, and that is something that can only happen with time. But it doesn't happen just because of time. The players have to embrace that role, and he has.
You know, you pointed this out to me, maybe it was last week, and just going back to JPO for a second. One of those guys that on the defensive side of the ball helps fill the void in terms of leading when Darius went down, and he's developed nicely into that.
Yeah, absolutely, and a very dynamic personality, a very vocal guy on the football field, and somebody who's not afraid to demand of his teammates. And I mentioned that with Darius a lot when people ask me, how does Darius continue to lead even though he's not practicing? I said, well, he's not practicing, but when he's there, he's still demanding of his teammates to play at a high level and to give great effort. And Julian does the same thing. It's a unique quality in young people, that peer accountability that you really want your older players to have.
Yeah, I saw you address that after practice today. And it's interesting because folks like us, we don't necessarily get to see Darius, so you think, well, he's not playing, he's removed from it, but he's really still in the heart of everything that's going on right now. And if you pay attention every week, he's right in the middle on the sideline, almost doing a little bit of coaching, and he's out there with the captains for the coin toss.
Yeah, he's with the captains. He's a 2-time captain in our program. He's out there for the coin toss. He's an extra set of eyes for Coach Panagos and Coach Rossi on game day. One more guy who can watch things and give feedback in terms of what he sees, and then somebody else just to drive the energy of the players on that sideline.
Okay, Coach. A couple of other things. Quarterback play the other night. Chris, where he is right now, you have complimented him quite a bit this season in terms of running the operation and getting in and out of the right plays, all that stuff based on what he saw. What did you see the other night against a team that is the best in the country?
Sure. I didn't think there was I didn't think we went backwards at all in terms of running the operation. I thought he did a good job. I thought the communication process was good. The operation was good. I don't think he had his best day throwing the football. I don't think he got a lot of help. I don't think the pocket was as clean as it could be. I think we could be more aggressive to the ball for the receivers, and there's a lot of things that go into it. Now, like anything else, when you're successful on offense, the quarterback gets a lot of credit, probably gets too much credit. And then when you're not successful on offense, the quarterback's going to get a lot of blame for it because it's the most important position really in all of sports, but certainly in the game of football, that starting quarterback spot is the most important spot on your team.
And it's always the one that the fans want to hear about the most.
Sure.
And it's always the one that there's the most debate about. In your estimation, folks saw Hayden threw the ball pretty well. Certainly the bomb that he threw to Carlton was a pretty good throw. Everybody's always going to ask about this. So at this point, what separates those guys? Because they see him make a play like that, and automatically the assumption is, well, this guy could play just as easily as Chris could play right now.
Sure. And I think when you come in the game in that situation, it's a little bit different.
Sure.
When you come in the fourth quarter in a game like that, it's not quite the same as starting the game. But I'm pleased with what Hayden has done, and I'm pleased with progress he's making through the year. Right now, Chris is ahead of him, and I've always felt that when you have a starting quarterback, that you got to give him an opportunity to grow. And 2 weeks ago, I think we saw the benefits of that in the fourth quarter, and that come from behind win, and that day that Chris had. And even though the numbers weren't what we wanted last week, certainly the result wasn't what we wanted last week. It's another part of the learning process for Chris as the starting quarterback.
But you know what? It's interesting to me because you got the question the other night after the game about, why not get Hayden a series or two to get the experience? Chris is a first-time starter, and he's only played 7 games
Sure.
as a starter. He needs that experience just as much as Hayden does at this point.
Well, that's how I feel. And in last week's game presented a unique opportunity to give Hayden some experience, so we took advantage of it.
Right.
And that now, one snap away, if we need Hayden, at least he's had the experience of playing in that quarter, operating the offense. We kind of kept it in a very much a traditional mode of offense for us. We didn't go 2-minute the whole quarter or anything like that. So we tried to just let him operate within the offense. And when called upon, he'll have those experiences to build on. He had some success. He threw a touchdown, had a big play. So he had some success, and all those things are good for his confidence and his learning curve. But you're right. Chris is not a 10-year veteran at this point.
No.
He needs every snap of experience he can get. And, this week we're going to play one of the top 2 defenses in our conference. And then I'm focused completely on this week, but I'm not naive to the schedule. Next week we play the top defense in our conference. So we've got some great challenges ahead of us this week and next week.
We want you to be a part of the program at 855-FLOOD-44, 855-356-6344. Give us a call with your question for Coach Flood. You can also tweet us your questions at Rutgers Radio. That's at Rutgers Radio. And if you're in attendance here tonight, we urge you to come on up front. Ask Coach a question right here at the microphone, and that goes for all of our friends here from the East Brunswick Youth Football
That's right.
League
I want to
as well.
hear some questions from St. Bart's. Let's go.
All right, Coach, a couple of other things to get into. The running back situation fascinates me. I was trying to think about this the other day. Having this depth of talent at that kind of skill position is just so rare, and it's something that you've talked about a lot. But, boy, it really, as much as people would make it out to be you got to get one guy and ride him, all of these guys have been exceptionally productive for you, and they're helping you in these football games. And I always get the sense that, maybe that idea of having to ride one guy is when you have other guys that aren't being productive.
They have all done an excellent job. I've had 2. I've never had 3. The closest thing I could think of would be probably 2006. We had Ray, we had Brian, who Brian kind of went back and forth between fullback and halfback. We had Cordell Young, a very young Cordell Young at that point. Very young Cordell Young. Okay. But so I've never had a situation like this where you had 3 upperclassmen or 3 experienced players. Let me say it that way because Josh and Robert aren't necessarily upperclassmen yet and been in this situation. But I feel like what we've done so far has allowed us not only to be productive, each one of them averages over 5 yards a carry, but also to be fresh. And we saw that in the Indiana game. The Indiana game was the fourth quarter was the closest we've gone to what people say go with the hot hand. We gave Robert a few more carries, but even in that fourth quarter, after he had gone for a certain number of plays, we put Paul James in, he rips off a 40-yard touchdown.
Right.
So, I feel really good about how it's going so far. I think we've got healthier running backs at this point in the season because of it. And I think we're going to reap the rewards of it down the stretch.
For Paul, when you still see when you really start to see the explosiveness now, and we're further into the season, is it more in his case because there hasn't been a lot of tread used on that tire this season because you've had those other guys?
I think it's a little bit part of that, and it's also the last 2 weeks, I think he's finally fully recovered from his off-season procedure. And I'm excited about it because I've seen the burst that we saw early in the season last year. And Paul's a really special football player. And when he's got that ability to burst, he's always had the ability to break tackles, but then he can run away from you.
One thing that's always talked about with younger running backs in particular, and it's something that maybe we haven't talked about a lot with these guys, how do they all function in pass protection?
They do a good job. And then you see us on third down. Third down's like a different game. I don't know if people always realize that when they watch. Like when you game plan first and second down. You go in the red zone. You do backed up. You do goal line, short yardage. But third down is like a game within a game. And we're fortunate that we've got a guy in Justin Goodwin who really has excellent hands, as good a hands as anybody on our team, and is a really smart football player, has been in our program for 3 years now, and does an excellent job of fitting into the protections and has really become a valuable guy because of that. And it doesn't mean the other guys can't, but what it does is it allows one guy to really be the focal point, and then the other guys get some reps in third down as the game week goes on. But it is a little bit of a luxury to have a guy of the quality of Justin Goodwin to be the third down back.
We got an awful lot to discuss over the next 45 minutes as Rutgers prepares for Wisconsin this coming Saturday. Let's step aside, take our first time out from Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube, Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar that's open all year round, even in the winter. Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size, dining in or to go. Quaker Steak and Lube, 561 Route 1 in Edison, 732-777-WING.
At AT&T, we're all about the perks, like getting $300 credit per line when you switch to AT&T with a smartphone trade-in and purchase of any smartphone on AT&T Next. That's 3 perks in 1. Get all the perks when you switch to the network with the nation's strongest 4G LTE signal. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Limited time. Each $300 requires a port-in, eligible purchase, activation, and trade-in. $100 bill credit within 90 days. $200 trade-in credit or promo card. Taxes, fees, restrictions apply. Claim based only on national carriers' average 4G LTE signal strength. See store for details.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Thanks to Mountain Dew Kickstart, 3 bros are about to become more than just a bunch of couch brotatoes. The energizing blast of dew and juice is entering their mouths. Soon they'll be sliding across the dance floor as if it was strewn with appeals of bro-nanas. Then this trio of bromios will recite sweet broetry into the ears of any dame that will listen. These guys are bro-fessionals. Let's do this. We're coming, world. It all starts with a kick. Mountain Dew Kickstart with dew, juice, and just the right amount of kick. Now available in 6 flavors that taste good.
Hey, Rutgers season ticket holders, are you tired of sitting on those hard bleachers with no back support? Then we have a deal for you. For a limited time, you can reserve a night cushion for only $60 for the season. That's less than $9 a game. Permanently attached to your ticket location, night cushions provide padded comfort for your back and bottom that's second to none. So don't wait. Visit nightcushion.com. That's nightcushion with a K.com. Or call 800-729-0445 to reserve today.
We are back at Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, New Jersey. It is this week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show. I'm sorry. I know we're switching headsets. I've got a huge head. I'm sorry. There's not much I can do about it. It's big head. We got a lot to discuss over the next 45 minutes. We want you to be a part of the program. So please, by all means, join us at 855-FLOOD-44, 855-356-6344. Or you can tweet us your questions at Rutgers Radio. Or you can ask your questions in person, which, Coach, it looks like a couple of our young friends have some questions for you.
They've taken up the challenge. I like it.
Let's have at it. Young man, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Jack, and I'm from North Brunswick, New Jersey.
What's up, Jack?
All right, Jack.
What's your question?
My question is, how does it feel to be the head coach for the Scarlet Knights?
I'll tell you what. It's an awesome, awesome feeling. And it is a dream come true. And I will tell you this. When I walked into Tim Pernetti's office in 2012 and he told me I was going to be the head coach, at least I was smart enough that when I walked out, the first person I called was my wife. And I made sure I wasn't going to screw that up.
As you look back, I'll follow up on this question. As you look back, what's been the best part of this whole thing for you the last couple of years?
You know, I think that the best part of being the head coach is that ultimately you get to choose the people that you work with. You have the final say on the staff, and you get to bring people into the program that you want to be around. Because a football team, a football staff, we spend a lot of time together. Really from August until signing day, we pretty much work 7 days a week with a couple of exceptions. And you're going to spend a lot of time, and it gives you an opportunity from the ground up to build a culture. And that's been a lot of fun for me to do that over the last couple of years.
Coach, it looks like you might get put on the griddle here. We got a lot of them.
I know. They're coming. I like it.
To ask. All right. Excellent question.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. I thought maybe you had a follow-up.
Who's next?
Logan Blaska.
All right, Logan.
What's your question for Coach?
My question is, how does it feel first when you go out onto the football field?
Oh, when we come out of the tunnel. Oh, it's exciting. It's exciting. Now, they tell me that the smoke makes it even better. They put the smoke down there at the bottom of the tunnel. But here's a really neat part of that. The neatest part of that is before we run out of the tunnel, we're usually down there 15, 20 seconds before we actually run out. And I get a chance to look up at the student section. I get a chance to look up at the crowd and see how excited everybody is. And the players start bouncing around right around me. And then I run as fast as I can out of the tunnel so they don't run me over.
Excellent question, Logan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's a question on Twitter, Coach. This is from Stephen Hirsch. Has Janaria Grant's return ability changed at all your philosophy of going for punt blocks?
It really hasn't. What we have found, though, is because of our ability to block or our reputation for blocking punts, that sometimes the get-off times are a lot quicker versus us than they are when we scout these teams. And that's not necessarily the best thing for their punters.
Right.
So, the shorter punts generally aren't going to get returned. And I know he hasn't had as many returns as we would like. We would like him to have a chance to return every one of them, kickoffs and punts. But no, we have not changed our philosophy. We are a block-first team.
Well, with that in mind, just to expand on that for a second, I think we've seen it a few times. We've seen teams try to employ the rollout punt. I think sometimes they have guys who can naturally do it. They have guys sometimes who can't, but try to do it. And then you see it where you've gotten a couple of shanked punts this year because there is that concern.
There's no question. And we see it in just about every week this year of guys that average less than what their averages are against other people. And they know we're coming. And that's good. We want them to know we're coming, and we're going to keep coming.
All right, let's talk about the special teams for a minute. Let's follow up on some of that. A guy that I think very quietly has had a solid year would be Joey Roth. Talk to me about his development. First of all, would you say that I'm right in my estimation there?
I would say that you're right. And what I'm most pleased about with Joe right now is he's been pretty consistent. And that's good. And the other thing, I don't know if people realize, he's also our holder.
Yeah.
So he adds value in more ways than one. Not just our punter, but as our holder, it's kind of a position that nobody ever really notices until something goes wrong.
Well, you had somebody last year in Mike Bamonte do just an amazing job with a young long snapper in Alan Lucy. But Alan this year seems like he's pretty much been on point.
He's done a nice job. Alan's much improved. We're pleased with the progress he made. And you're right, Mike Bamonte last year, he really made some special holds during the season that helped us a bunch. And we haven't had to do that this year.
Yeah.
But Joe's got good hands, and Joe's done a good job as well.
Okay, defensively, a couple of guys that I wanted to ask you about individually. Sebastian Joseph, we have seen him step up, make some more plays in the middle of that defensive line. Talk to me about Sebastian, his growth, but also he just has that look of a player that has the ability to be a disruptive force in that role.
Yeah, people got a glimpse of it at a very important stage of the game against Indiana on that third down stop. But that's not the only one that he's had this year. And you're right, Sebastian is a guy that is getting better week by week. And at 290 pounds and the way he can move, he can be a very disruptive force up front at that nose guard position. And, when you think about some of the guys that have played that position at a high level, guys like Ramel Meekins and Scott Vallone, when that position is played at a high level, it elevates our defense.
I'll ask you about Scott in a few minutes because having him back around the program, it's interesting to see him as one of your grad assistant coaches. One or two others, though, on defense. Stephen Longa has found himself in that strong side role where he's making weak side role, where he's making a lot of the tackles, a lot of the plays, and the defense kind of funnels toward him. Stephen is on the verge of having the third straight 100 tackle season, and seems like he just is relishing every moment of it.
He's playing at a high level, and you can't. There's one thing about having numbers like that I don't think people realize, and it's durability.
Yeah.
You don't
that much contact.
Yeah.
How do you stay healthy?
You don't get those kind of numbers without having durability, and he works and trains very hard all year long to make sure that he can be out there every week. And he's a tough guy, and he's out there every week, and he's productive every week. And you say, all right, hey, there's nothing more valuable in life than consistency. I mean, you can chalk him up for double-digit tackles just about every game. And I know he's among the conference leaders and the national leaders and things like that in terms of tackles. But more importantly for us is he plays a position where we have to have production, because you're right. And that will linebacker position in our defense is the Kasim Green position that he won 2 Conference Player of the Years playing. And Steven's done an excellent job of kind of picking up the torch and doing that as well.
And folks may not realize it. I didn't realize it until I read, or somebody told me this the other day. 3 straight 100 tackle seasons would be the first time in school history that's ever been done. You're talking about the Kasim Greens. You're talking about the Gary Brackett's, some of the all-time great linebackers, Tyrone Stowe, that Rutgers has had. He's about to enter that elite company, and maybe he isn't getting the attention for it.
I didn't realize that. I hadn't looked at that in terms of a record standpoint, but it doesn't surprise me because, again, Steve is as productive a player as we have on our team.
Okay. Secondary, young guys, as we know. Has there been one or two of the younger guys really that has opened your eyes more than anybody else?
I think they all go into the same category, and Isaiah Wharton has probably been the healthiest all year. Jarius played a little bit, and then he was out, and now he's back with us. Bless played for a while, and he's been out the last 2 weeks. We may get him back this week. We'll find out here the next couple days. But I kind of grouped them together because they're young players. They're going to be really good players. I love how they work. I love how they're learning. And you can even put the safeties in there, guys like Kai Hester, Saquon Hampton. They're all getting opportunities to play right now, and they're going to be better for it. But they're young players, and there are going to be things that we're going to have to coach them through the game, because every week there's going to be something every week they're going to see, and it's probably going to be the first time they see it.
We have another question for you, Coach, on Twitter. This is from Chris Nowaski. Excuse me.
Chris is a regular.
Oh, yeah. What specifically about the Wisconsin defense poses the greatest challenge for your offense? As we know, they give up just 11 points per game on average.
Yeah, number 8 in total defense in the country, number 8 in rushing defense in the country, 4th in red zone defense, 2nd in the country in scoring defense. They do an excellent job. They've got a good scheme. Dave Aranda does a good job coaching them. But here's, like anything else, first and foremost, it's usually about the players.
Right.
And the players, there's 3 players on their defense, in my opinion, that make it work for them. One, and they're a 3-4 configuration. Their strong side linebacker, Joe Schubert, their weak side linebacker, Vince Beagle, and their strong safety, Mike Caputo. And those 3 players are involved in almost every run play. And they do a great job of funneling the defense to those 3 guys. And those 3 guys do an excellent job of making the plays when they get the opportunities. They play a lot of man coverage. They load the box. They are determined to stop the run. So we're going to have some opportunities for some one-on-ones in the pass game. But if you say, all right, hey, why are they as productive as they've been on defense? I think it starts with those 3 players. You need 11, but it starts with those 3.
Okay, so with those one-on-one opportunities, it begs the question, will you have number 4 out there this week? You had Leonte Carew for a half last week. Where do we stand here with him in terms of his injury?
We're really in the same place we were last week. We're not sure yet. And I think he's going to be a game-time decision again. He wants to go. He's doing everything in his power to get his body ready to go. So I feel good about that, because I think that's the most important thing. The player has to feel like he can do it. But now we got to look at it, and we got to talk to the doctors and the trainers and make sure that that's the best thing for him. And if it is, he'll play. And if he gets the stamp of approval and he's going to play. But if not, then he won't, and we'll get him. And then Carlton Agudusi goes in, and I got all the confidence in the world in Carlton, because not only have I seen him do it in practice, now because of the Indiana game, I've seen him do it in a game.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I was going next, because we know that Leonte is on an elite level with his abilities. But having seen that in the Indiana game, is it almost more comforting for a coach to know that this guy is capable of going up? And frankly, the one play that comes to mind is the 38-yard catch where he's in double coverage and went up and took the football away.
It's always very exciting for a coach to see a player get validated during the game, because levels of success happen at different stages. Sometimes a guy has success in drills, then he can take it to the team periods. Ultimately, you got to take it into the good-on-good periods you do during the week with your defense. and then the final step is doing it in the game. And until they do it in the game, I don't know if you could ever have as much confidence as you want to have until you start making the plays in the game. And now Carlton's done that. So he's past that stage. He's done it. He made the plays. He made some plays last week. So, we have a ton of confidence in him. I think he's a very confident player right now because he's had the success in the games. And if Leonte can't go, you don't replace Leonte Carew with one person in terms of production. But at that position, we feel really good about what Carlton can give us.
Want you to be a part of the show. We've got a couple of your Twitter questions in. By all means, send them in at Rutgers Radio. That's at Rutgers Radio. Also, give us a call at 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. Let's step aside. We'll come back. Plenty more to do over the next half hour as Rutgers prepares for Wisconsin. From Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, this is the Kyle Flood Show.
Consider the cup holder. There's probably one feeling empty next to you right now. No Pepsi, no hope. Just look at it, won't you? All across the country, cup holders are being neglected. Instead of Pepsi, they're being filled with loose change or crumpled up receipts. But you can help. Get a Pepsi and refresh a cup holder's life. Our thirsts are counting on it. In fact, I'm having one right now. That is refreshing. Pepsi, refresh yourself. Refill your cup holder.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube, Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar that's open all year round, even in the winter. Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size, dining in or to go. Quaker Steak and Lube, 561 Route 1 in Edison, 732-777-WING.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
You know where to tune in for the game, but do you know how to bring the game home to you? When it comes to commemorating the experience, IMGProducts.net has you covered. IMGProducts.net is the place to go for official programs and yearbooks from NCAA championships, conference tournaments, and many of the nation's top universities. Relive games and championships for years to come with quality programs containing stats, behind-the-scenes stories, history, and much, much more. IMGProducts.net. We've got you covered.
Looking for the best trained in the electrical business? Look no further. Our members of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 456, go through a 5-year nationally recognized apprenticeship program along with OSHA safety certifications, producing the best trained and most up-to-date electricians in the area. Fiber optics, high voltage, lighting retrofits, solar energy, healthcare facilities, school construction, data centers. We do it all. We are also proud to be one of the first building trades locals to be recognized with a drug-free workplace program. We at Local Union 456 are like Coach Flood and the Scarlet Knights, trained and proven to get the job done.
Back at Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, it is the Kyle Flood Show. Rutgers preparing for Wisconsin this week. Coach, we've got a couple of more young men who have some questions. We'll get to them in just one sec, but little Birdie told me that last night you got an award. What was that?
You know, it was a very humbling experience. It was a service award that was given out of the Association of the United States Army, and a gentleman nominated me for the award by the name of General Bruce Bingham, who is a retired brigadier general in the Army, and somebody who's a Rutgers alumnus, a Rutgers ROTC alumnus, and somebody we've gotten to know over the years. He took the trip with us to Navy last year in full fatigues, which we really appreciated. I got a great picture with him after that game. He gave me his beat Navy pin, which I know was special for him. But it's a humbling experience because you sit there amongst retired servicemen from the military, current ROTC students, and we've been able to build a relationship with the ROTC on campus. They help us with some operational things on game day. We've built a relationship with the 1st Battalion, 114th Infantry. I had the honor of speaking at their deployment, having their families come to practice, and then having their families come to practice a year later, and some of the officers who had been deployed and were back in the States came back with their families. So that was a lot of fun and a really enjoyable day. So I certainly was honored to get the award. It was a great experience. And you sit at a table with a Major Boone, who runs our ROTC program at Rutgers. He's a professor I'll let him tell you something. He's a professor on campus, Major Boone, and General Bingham, and then there was a 3-star general there as well who had come up from Washington, D.C. So it was a very high-ranking table that I got to sit at.
Well, it's always been a big part. Well, a big partnership that you've always wanted to have with the program in honoring those who serve our country. I remember being at a practice, and I don't remember specifically if it was the 114th at the time, but you and the team being presented with a flag that had been flown over in Afghanistan.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And every time Rutgers won, they would raise the Rutgers flag at that particular camp. So
yeah, that was 2012, and I still have that flag in my office.
Yeah.
That's a prized possession.
All right, we've got some questions. We'll have a phone call in just a second, but these young men have been very patient. Sir, what's your name and where are you from?
I am AJ, and I'm from Milltown.
All right, AJ, fire away.
So, is there anyone on your football team that you think will make it to the 2015 NFL Draft?
There are. There are quite a few players on our team that I think are going to be eligible for the draft, and NFL teams are going to look at them. And I'll talk about one that I think everybody's going to be talking about, and Leonte Carril. I think what Leonte has done this year has moved him into a class with the top receivers in the country. Something that I think we already knew at Rutgers. We always felt like he was going to be one of the top players nationally, and now I think the nation has seen that with the production that he's had. And he won't be the only one. But right now we're focused on Wisconsin. So we're not really thinking about it, but I think but I can give you that one because I think that's a pretty obvious one.
All right, thank you. Next question, young man who's an Eagles fan.
Okay,
Coach.
now listen. You've got an Eagles hat on. Go Birds. All right, now, I got in a lot of trouble the first game of the year. I've got a good friend of mine who coaches the Atlanta Falcons, and he got his first NFL win against the Eagles. And I put it out on Twitter. And I got attacked, I think, by everybody in South Jersey. And it was not. I was not against the Eagles. I was just congratulating a friend of mine. But I want to say that because I see the hat. So I used to coach against Chip Kelly too. So I'm a Chip Kelly fan. Go ahead.
Okay.
What's your name?
Dante.
Dante, where are you from?
North Brunswick.
All right, fire away. What's your question?
When you were little, what was your favorite football team?
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, if I tell you that, I might get run right out of this place.
Oh, boy. You're not going to say it, are you?
I don't think I.
Oh, don't say Dallas.
Should I say it, Chris? I don't know if I can say it. Now, I'm going to say it, but I'm going to give you an answer because you came here today and you asked me an honest question. I'm going to give you an honest answer. But I'm going to preface my answer this way. I don't have a favorite team anymore. I only root for the teams that have Rutgers players on them. And I've already talked to Coach Quinn at the Falcons, and I told him how upset I was that he didn't have any Rutgers players on his team yet. He told me he's going to rectify that next year. So, with that being said, as somebody who grew up in the 70s and was a huge Tom Landry fan and Tony Dorsett and Roger Staubach fan, I did grow up as a child a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. But I am not currently a fan of the Dallas Cowboys because they do not have a player from Rutgers on their team.
Fair enough. Hey, the man's honest about it.
I got to be honest with you. I got to be honest.
It's tough.
The governor Christie, still rooting for the Cowboys.
Well, that's another topic. But you can't win with the Giants or the Eagles, certainly. All right, what's your name, young man?
Logan.
Oh, you're back.
All right, Logan.
Go. What is your question?
How has Paul James improved over his years playing for Rutgers?
Paul James came to Rutgers as a walk-on and earned a scholarship. And that's always we've got some other guys who've done that. A guy like Sean O'Hara, a guy like Gary Brackett, were former walk-ons who became captains and eventually moved on to the NFL. And Paul's going to have a great opportunity to do that.
Michael Burton. Yep.
Michael Burton, another walk-on who became a captain and now is playing in the NFL. He's become a better player in every way. And the last 2 years, what I tell you is, every time he's healthy, he's a special football player. And right now, he's healthy, and that's exciting for us as we come down the stretch of the season.
All right. Good job.
Thank
I'll tell
you.
What, these kids have come out and had some good questions.
They got good questions. I like it. They even putting me on the spot here, asking me about my favorite team.
All right.
Asking me which player's going to get drafted. These guys, they're not holding back now.
All right. Scott in Newtown has been patient on the phones. He joins us on the Kyle Flood Show. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. Coach Flood, I know you're focused on being 1-0 this week against Wisconsin, and
I got a feeling there's a butt coming.
Well, no, not at all. With 5 games to go, we've been a perennial bowl team, right? We've gone, I think, 10 or 11, 10 out of the last 11. I think that's the number.
9 out of the last 10.
I know you're focused very much on this week, but with 5 games to go, how do you feel about our chances for a bowl, and what's so important about getting to a bowl?
Well, there are definitely advantages to getting to a bowl game. When you go to a bowl game, you get the extra practice time. You get a chance to develop some of the younger players in your program, and they get the experience of playing one more game. All those things are an advantage, and we're certainly working towards that. Now, the best way for us to accomplish that, and really, in my opinion, the only way for us to accomplish that, is to continue to be focused on being 1-0 each week, because that's how it happens. We only get to play one game a week, and whatever game we're playing that week is the most important game on our entire schedule. So, Joseph came over here to say hello. He totally agrees with me. But again, it's not I don't say those things trying to avoid the question. It really is the reality of football, because every week is like its own season, and the matchups are so different week to week that to look at it in terms of 5 games, you just can't do it that way. So right now, the best thing we can do to make sure that we continue that streak is to go 1-0 this week.
All right, Scott, we appreciate the phone
Thank
call.
you.
Thank you for checking in with us. Again, you could be a part of the program at 855-FLOOD-44. That's 855-356-6344. All right, well, Joseph has his question.
All right, Joseph, do you have a question?
What's your favorite coach? What's your favorite coach?
What's your favorite couch, or what's your favorite coach?
Coach.
Who's my favorite coach?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the coach that probably had the biggest impact on me would be Vince O'Connor. He was my high school coach, and he spent over 60 years at my high school as the head high school football coach. He passed away last year. His daughter actually came to the game last week, so I was very happy that she came. And just a very giving person, giving of his time, giving of his knowledge, very dedicated to the program that he worked for and the school that he worked in, and somebody that every time you spoke to him, you felt like you were the most important person in the world. And that's a unique quality and something that is great for me or really anybody to aspire to do. Thank you for that question, Joseph.
Excellent question, Joseph. Now, normally if this was...
Now, you got to clean your face?
If this was during a media session, I'd say, you get plenty of your own time with them, Coach, what were the tenets of outside of that? Because I actually noticed that from you and from Marco Battaglia, what were you talking about? Yeah. Hey, this is whoever you're talking to is the most important person in the room. But tenets of coaching, 1 or 2 things, X's and O's, or anything like that you really took away from Coach O'Connor.
Oh, his detail-orientedness was beyond reproach. And I remember, being 22 years old, teaching 5 classes a day, and then Monday we played our games on Sundays for the most part in the New York City Catholic League. And so Monday would be the film session with the players, and then after that you would do the game plan. And we would literally be in a classroom with Mr. O'Connor until 11:30 at night on Monday, and then 11:30 at night on Tuesday, working on these game plans as high school football coaches. And every week he wanted to just go back to the beginning and go through every detail of every play to make sure these were the plays that we wanted to run. And he was really doing it with offense, with defense, with special teams. And the day before the game, we would have a 3-hour walkthrough.
Wow.
The day before the game, and literally run every play on offense, run every defense against their plays, run every special team. But his dedication to the details was just amazing.
It's amazing. It's not. Listen, I know it's huge in coaching, but you really learn every day in life just about how important the details are.
Yeah,
it's
no
unreal.
question.
We'll step aside. We've got more time for your questions. Gentlemen here in attendance, just be patient. We'll be back in 1 minute. Plenty more to do over the next little bit. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about Wisconsin as well. Thanks for joining us at Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison. This is the Kyle Flood Show.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube, Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar that's open all year round, even in the winter. Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size, dining in or to go. Quaker Steak and Lube, 561 Route 1 in Edison, 732-777-WING.
Hey, Chris Carlin here, and as the voice of your Rutgers Scarlet Knights, I see the fans' passion for our hometown team come to life every Saturday in the fall. UPS shares this same passion for helping businesses turn a challenge into a solution, because they're not just in the shipping business, they're in the problem-solving business. Visit ups.com/solvers to see how UPS can help your team find the winning formula. UPS, official logistics company of Rutgers Athletics.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
This commercial is brought to you by Brother International, the makers of fax, printers, multifunction printers, scanners, sewing, and embroidery machines. Brother is always at your side.
You can make business cards with your name, print from hiking, hang and frame, sew some shades, block the sun, keep out creepy peeping toms. With Brother at your side, always good times. You got a brother at your side, and whatever follows always ends up in good times. You can make a basket cover for your cat, another for his brother, so they both match. No more mess, make the best label, all relieve that stress. Brothers always undercover and always around. 106 years, better keep on counting. You got a brother at your side, and whatever follows always ends up in good time. With the brother at your side, with the brother at your side.
We continue on the Kyle Flood Show at Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, New Jersey. Rutgers taking on Wisconsin this coming Saturday, 12 noon, up at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison. Sir, we have a question here in attendance. What's your name and where are you from?
Scott from Edison.
Scott, how are you?
Hey, Scott.
Good, Coach, even though we're happy to be in the Big Ten, we wanted to know if there's any way we could put one of the Florida teams back on the schedule, because that was our favorite destination for away games.
Well, it's something we look at all the time, and scheduling gets done so far in advance. I do believe we have Miami coming on the schedule here in a couple of years.
Yep.
So we try to do it because I know it's fun for the fans, but it's also a great experience for a lot of the players on our team that are from Florida, and we have quite a few. So anytime there's an opportunity to play a team down there, we always try to do it.
Thank you.
One thing I did notice that you touched on earlier, just to bring it up, with Jerry Kill retiring today.
Yes.
A guy that Rutgers has not played Minnesota, but a guy that you've gotten to know. He's had some health issues, as we know, certainly well respected in the coaching community.
I don't know that there's anybody who's ever met him that doesn't have a tremendous amount of respect for him. A real gentleman, somebody that I had the opportunity to coach against when he was the head coach at Southern Illinois. I was an assistant at Delaware. We played in the playoffs. And his teams, when we were getting ready to play his teams, you knew immediately, very well coached, very physical, just does a tremendous job as a football coach. Really understands his system, what he is, doesn't deviate from it, and has had success everywhere he's been, which I really admire, what he's done. And anytime I've been around him at the Big Ten meetings, always a gentleman, somebody that doesn't always have a lot to say in those meetings, but when he speaks, everybody in the room listens. And it's a room with a lot of talented coaches, but they all want to know what he thinks when he gives his opinion. So, I enjoyed my time around him, and I certainly wish him nothing but the best.
We certainly do, and hopefully health-wise he's going to progress and be just fine here in short order. It's interesting. In playing a team like Wisconsin this week, they strike me as one of the rare teams that over the last, let's say, 20 years has always been the same in terms of their identity about what they're going to do. They're going to be physical. They're going to try to pound the football, and they are defensively going to be stout in the front seven in particular. So, first of all, Am I right? Is that as much of a rarity as it feels like to have a school or a program keep that same identity for an extended period of time?
I think it is. And I think a lot of it has to do with their athletic director, Barry Alvarez, who was the head coach there and really built the Wisconsin program into what it is today. And then he hired somebody, I think, philosophically, who believed in a lot of the things he believed in Brett Bielema.
Yep.
And Coach Bielema was there for quite a while, and then he moved on to Arkansas. And now Coach Christ is there. And Paul had been the offensive coordinator when Brett was the head coach, played at Wisconsin. So I think every time they've made a hire, they've tried to make it so that philosophically they could be what they want to be. And when you have that kind of alignment from the top down, I think you can make that happen. And people have made a lot of, maybe they're throwing the ball a little bit more this year, but I don't know how unique that is when your first two running backs have been injured a little bit, your offensive line's a little bit younger than it's been, so maybe a little bit more balanced this year than they've been. But when you put the film on, there's a priority and an emphasis in running the football with this football team, and you better stop them from running it or you're not going to see too many passes.
Well, we saw some of Corey Clement last year. Melvin Gordon, of course, now in the NFL with the Chargers, but Clement's been banged up somewhat this year. Joel Stave, their starting quarterback, has been banged up as well. Bart Houston has come into that program and also played a quarterback with the injury to Stave. What do you expect to see this week in terms of their injuries on offense?
Well, I think we got a good look at it last week. Joel got injured pretty early in that game, and Bart Houston came in, and they didn't change one bit.
Yeah.
They were very aggressive throwing the ball on scheduled downs. They ran their offense. It doesn't surprise you. Bart's somebody who's been in their program for over a year now, so he's not he's not a true freshman or anything like that. And he did a good job. He did a good job throwing the ball. Had a couple turnovers, a couple red zone interceptions that I'm sure they're working on this week. But he was able to function within that offense and help them be 1-0 last week. So I don't think philosophically they'll change.
You touched on it earlier, but the atmosphere of Camp Randall is notorious, not notorious, but certainly well known as one of the better ones in the Big Ten. I would have to imagine that you're probably not all that bummed out that this is a 12 noon game this week, because it is I will say notoriously a big weekend up in Madison. Halloween weekend always is.
The 11 a.m. local time.
Yes.
Yes. And 11
Let's make sure to point that out. 11 a.m.
11 a.m. local kick.
Yep. Don't set the alarms if you're living up in Madison.
I've never seen Camp Randall or coached a game there, so I do know. I believe Ryan Dunleavy did an article earlier this season at the Big Ten Media Days with some of the other players in the league, asking them about the different environments, and over again, Camp Randall comes up as one of the top, if not the most hostile environment in the Big Ten. I think the jump around after the third quarter, yep. I think everybody knows about that. So I don't see myself participating, but certainly it'll be interesting to hear it.
Hopefully you're in the mood to jump around. If that,
no question. But it's going to be a challenging environment. Having never been there, I don't really know how to gauge what it'll be like for an 11 a.m. kickoff. I know we've got some rain in the forecast as well. And on Halloween, who knows what the student section will be dressed like on Halloween. So it could be some interesting stuff going on there.
But you know what? Week in and week out, we continue to learn this every year in the first couple of years. To get to go to some of these places and to be part now of the tradition that the Big Ten has and start to build your own tradition within the conference as opposed to what you already have, it's pretty neat when you get an opportunity. Football is played on Saturdays, all of that, terrific stuff.
It really is what everybody my age, your age, when you grew up in the Northeast, you wanted to have a Big Ten football team of your own, and now we have that here in New Jersey. And this is what it is. It's life in the Big Ten. And what's exciting to me is we've already shown, we showed it at the Michigan game last year. We showed it again last week. We have the premier primetime environment in this conference. And they know it. And there's a reason why we end up in prime time as much as we do. And that's exciting for me. It's exciting for the program. It's exciting for the university. It becomes a great showcase. But there's other great environments in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And this week we're going to see one of them out there at Camp Randall. And I know that as a program, we're looking forward to going out there and accepting the challenge of trying to be 1-0 in a very hostile environment.
Well, if you pay attention to television ratings, like I do, it's my business. You noticed that the other night it was a pretty big rating when it comes to college football in New York in prime time with Rutgers, and that is nothing new, certainly. We'll take one more time out, get into a couple of more things with the matchup with Wisconsin this coming Saturday. From Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison, this is the Kyle Flood Show.
At AT&T, we're all about the perks, like getting $300 credit per line when you switch to AT&T with a smartphone trade-in and purchase of any smartphone on AT&T Next. That's 3 perks in one. Get all the perks when you switch to the network with the nation's strongest 4G LTE signal. AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Limited time. Each $300 requires a port-in. Eligible purchase, activation, and trade-in. $100 bill credit within 90 days. $200 trade-in credit or promo card. Taxes, fees, restrictions apply. Claim based only on national carriers' average 4G LTE signal strength. See store for details.
Need a place to watch all the pro games? Look no further than Quaker Steak and Lube. Best Wings USA on Route 1 in Edison. 50 TVs, great game day specials starting at just $2, and the best wings in the USA with over 25 different wing sauces. Enjoy our outdoor patio and bar that's open all year round, even in the winter. Give us a call, 732-777-WING. We cater events of any size, dining in or to go. Quaker Steak and Lube, 561 Route 1 in Edison, 732-777-WING.
This is the Rutgers IMG Sports Network.
Hey, Rutgers season ticket holders, are you tired of sitting on those hard bleachers with no back support? Then we have a deal for you. For a limited time, you can reserve a night cushion for only $60 for the season. That's less than $9 a game. Permanently attached to your ticket location, night cushions provide padded comfort for your back and bottom that's second to none. So don't wait. Visit nightcushion.com. That's nightcushion with a K.com. Or call 800-729-0445 to reserve today.
Honey, did you take care of the party rentals yet?
I drove by Miller's Rentals on Route 1, but it looks like they've closed. We'll have to go someplace else.
No, according to Facebook, Miller's moved to a bigger space at 160 Fieldcrest Avenue in Edison, but their phone number hasn't changed. 732-985-3050.
Great, I'll call now.
Miller's Party Rentals, tents, tables, chairs, linen, staging, and more. Now at 160 Fieldcrest Avenue in Edison. 732-985-3050. Visit MillerRentals.com. Like us on Facebook and receive a discount on your first order. Go Millers!
One or two more minutes here on the Kyle Flood Show from Quaker Steak and Lube in Edison. Coach, we do have a question from the group of the young men from,
all right.
Is it St. Bart's?
St. Bart's.
St. Bart's.
East Brunswick.
East Brunswick. And
the Buffaloes.
It is this. Does Coach Flood have any words of advice for the team?
Well, I will tell you what I tell my son before every game. I tell him 3 things. Make sure you play with aggressive hands. Right? You got to learn to play with your hands. Make sure you run to the ball, swarm and finish, offense and defense, and always see what you hit. And I give my son that advice every week right before he goes to his game, and I'll give it to you guys. If you do those 3 things, you'll have a lot of fun on Saturdays.
Should be a lot of fun this coming Saturday up in Wisconsin, Coach. Good to see you as always.
Well, I appreciate you being here. We look forward to getting Eric back next week.
Absolutely.
And we'll see everybody on Saturday. Hopefully we'll have some friendly faces in the crowd at Camp Randall.
It is Rutgers and Wisconsin this Saturday, 12 noon, up at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison. You can catch the game on BTN and on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. WOR in New York, 710 and 1450 WCTC, 800 down in Philly, as well in 97.3 in Atlantic City. Want to thank Paul Schrager, our producer and engineer, along with Colin Osborne, Tim DeMartin, Jimmy Gill, and Hasim Phillips from the Rutgers Sports Information Department. Once again, it's Rutgers and Wisconsin as the Scarlet Knights try to pick up their 4th win of the season. But as Coach says, just trying to go 1-0 this week. 12 noon kick. We'll see you then. Have a great week, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us on this week's edition of the Kyle Flood Show.
You've been listening to the Kyle Flood Show, live from the Quaker Steak and Lube on US 1 in Edison on the Rutgers IMG Sports Network. The Kyle Flood Show has also been brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world, and by Pepsi. Live in the moment. The beat starts at Pepsi.com. Pepsi, live for now.